A very good evening to all our messengers and viewers who have tuned in today. Welcome to the Silent Message, where we connect, create, and convey. Today's open talk is all about agile thinking and change quotient, something that each one of us manage every day in and day out. And women forever are juggling quite a lot in the race to achieve these tasks, constantly tick marking the list of things to complete, people to meet with, get work done, etc. And the list of lists is endless. But the drive is also endless. So when I look at the women around me that I have in my life and even work with, I've experienced that they are tremendously motivated, they're driven, and even quite a few have had the courage to face the challenges upfront in their own ways. And let me begin with introducing our panel, Juhi Santani. She's the Principal Creative Director and founder of Retail Design at Bangalore. She's an interior designer. She has worked with Weekender and urban brands like Tommy Hilfiger and Wrangler. And in 2003, she started this outfit and the business of designing spaces. And she continues to inspire people, everybody who comes in touch with her. And I'm looking forward to hearing what she's going to tell us today. We also have with us Sheetal Gulati, who's a commerce graduate and a Trinity College assessor. She's also a certified TESOL, TESOL tutor. And as an educator, an academician, a learning mentor, Sheetal believes that by creating the right mix of concept and practice, children can be made real world ready. And I'm really looking forward to her also as to what she has to say. Um, so let me begin with Juhi. Welcome to both of you, Juhi and Sheetal.
Hey
Let me begin
Pooja,
with Juhi. Hi. Um, I've known you now for quite a few years, and I've seen you move from a three-person setup to a 20 plus company. And that's been quite an interesting journey. Tell us how that has been.
very interesting to start with. See, it's really it's about the vision is something that I figured a little later in the day. So we started at three, and we knew that we were going to be bigger, much bigger than that. But the early years they tend to go in a grind. You do everything. Even today, I do everything. But the importance of keeping an eye on your vision. Where is it that you're going, not where you are? That's the big story. So, really, the journey has really been about keeping an eye on the bigger picture, keeping an eye on the vision, and saying that I will not get stuck in only the operational bits. That I will make time um,
Hmm.
for just thinking about where my team, my organization, which is retail, is going. So, really, I mean, that's what has got us from 3 to 15.
Excellent. That's nice. So, Sheetal, I would like to hear from you. And our viewers would want to know that how has the last 7 years been for you as well? From 2014 that you started and today where you've reached, how that journey has been.
Well, I would say it was like a roller coaster ride. So with every rise and fall, it eventually contributed to my growth as an individual and a professional.
Correct.
I realized very late in life the importance of financial independence and education. Nevertheless, once I decided to do something about it. So in 2013, I got my certificate in early childhood education, and I started working with Treehouse as a playgroup teacher. So my job really helped me to learn the ropes of how to run an educational center. So in 2014, I finally decided to start my own educational center. So I wanted to bring some unique courses to the suburbs because being in Mulund, I feel the children at times are deprived from some different kind of courses. So
For our
I
viewers, Mulund is a very small, teeny, weeny suburb of Bombay. I'm just giving them context, for all our viewers pan India. Right. Sorry, continue.
okay. So I placed my decision on the table. Of course, it was not very well received by a lot of people. So because people had always seen me in the role of a homemaker, so it was very difficult for them to visualize that when I can start my own business.
That
So yeah,
happens.
yeah. So I was discouraged by a lot of people. So they said you might be wasting the resources, and it's not very easy to grow the business. But then I think I had made up my mind by that time, and I decided to just go ahead with it. So in 2014, I started Vocal Skills, and I became a trainer for Trinity College London, assessment in communication skills and in English language. And it was not easy because now I was juggling two roles, that of a homemaker and a professional. And at the same time, I was also educating myself. So I completed, like you had mentioned before, my diploma in TESOL, my diploma in grammar, and I also took a professional certificate in communication skills. So now, 7 years later, I think I'm very happy where I am, and I didn't take the advice of all my well wishers.
I think that's something that all of us have to, reiterate for ourselves, huh, Juhi, that, mera kehna maan, ye mat kar.
No,
And I think
you listen to everyone and you decide for yourself. It's simple
right,
as that.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, Sheetal, I'll just I want to park here for a while and then ask you. You mentioned, you started with a few skills, and now today as a learning mentor. So, what has changed in that role for you? I mean, from giving, providing, or offering skill-based modules to now a little larger perspective of learning mentor. So, how has that role change been for you?
So, as a skills provider, I was just, teaching a part of a whole. So, like, I was teaching the children about communication skills, presentation skills, and maybe, just grammar. But as a parent, I always like to dig deeper and find out, which courses are like appropriate for my child, which extracurricular activities she should join. And the feedback that I got from most of the people was that, it's important for her to excel in skills. And that
Hmm.
is when I decided to do some research, and I came up with, I found this course on the 6 C's of education. And I realized, like, if it's so important for my daughter to, learn these skills, then I should also start teaching them at my center. And
Absolutely.
yeah, so that is when, I decided to create a course, which I named the 21st Century Life Skills,
Correct.
which led to a holistic development of the children. And
Oh.
like, I have balanced this course across 7 levels.
Oh, I mean, it starts. You mean different grades?
Yeah, it starts from the age of like 5 6 years,
Oh,
and
okay.
yeah, it goes up to almost 18.
5 to 18. That's the kind of bandwidth
Yeah,
you handle. So that means the children start learning about different aspects of how to be a better citizen, how to be a better person from the age of 5, and along with their school, also they whatever they learn
yeah,
in school, but they're also getting reinforced through your course as well.
yes.
Great, great. Thank you so much. Juhi, you mentioned that you moved the pieces you always knew that this is I mean, it's going to be a larger company, when you talked about vision in the beginning. So obviously the way of functioning from a three-person setup to now managing a bigger team, and a very vibrant team, I must say. I have been interacting with them a little bit. How is the way of your functioning impacted?
Tremendously. I think I've grown as a person. So I'm an interior designer, Pooja, as you introduced me as. So we are in the field of creative services. And there are a million ways of doing the right thing. And but when I started out, I'm not sure that I really understood the meaning of that. I
Hmm.
knew my way of doing the right thing. Um,
Yes, I completely relate to that.
So I have learned to accept that there are so many ways of doing the right things, and right under our team banner, all those right things must flourish. And the one thing that has changed, that I have changed about myself, is that I've learned to delegate. And delegate not just in the sense of, the superficial sense of the word, that you give the work away to somebody. No.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
you hover around them in the beginning, but you let go. Yeah.
Okay.
You wait till they come to you, you fix a few things, and then you say, you're good to go. Yeah. So after this, only when you're nervous, check back with me. So I'm in the background, but I have learned to let go. I've become more open minded.
Okay.
I've become very accepting. So when I say accepting, not accepting of errors, don't get me wrong there, but
Hmm.
very accepting of a way larger way, larger, look at things, at, at looking at thought processes which are independent of mine.
Different
Looking,
perspectives, different approaches, you
yes,
mean?
absolutely. And looking at my team members as people who are the future of my organization and not just me. So I really am,
Ah.
I'm trying to step back, from being at the forefront, and, really just let them. And I'm blessed with a great team. And that's
Right. So
really
what
worked for us. Yeah.
So what I understand is you have learned now over the years to zoom in and zoom out whenever required. That's a jargon that we use
Yes.
a lot of times across the corporate sector.
Yes.
The managers, some of the senior managers want their managers to be able to zoom in and zoom out, and vice versa. So I think that's where you're coming from. So what I get a sense of what both of you've been sharing so far is that you move the pieces around to suit and mold yourselves according to the situation. And I can easily call that being agile. I mean, and that's what we're talking about today. So let's talk a little bit more about the agility part of it. And Juhi, actually, I'd like to ask you this. I'll start with you to tell us, how did you shift these gears? Like, what are the actionables, or what did you decide? Okay, this is what I'm going to do,
So
or something.
one thing that's my favorite is that you can't dig a well when your house is on fire. So that's where agility, came in for us. We had our early pitfalls. You go through the market slumps, and we operate in the retail and hospitality space, so we are literally the first to be hit with any negative market sentiment. And I think we
Hmm.
learned very early as a team. So agility to me is not not starting to think alternate routes when you are hit with a crisis. Agility is a way of life. You keep thinking that
Agility is a way
today.
of life. I like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you keep thinking that this is what is doing so well today. This is where the boom is happening. But what's the next boom? And you keep thinking about it, and you keep actioning those things, and making time for a future while you're still riding a high.
Hmm.
Yeah, so you're riding a high, and you don't get so obsessed with that high that you don't have space to think of the next low. So have I completely achieved it? I'm not sure, but it's work in progress. I'm constantly thinking. I'm making my team think that what's next. Okay, so this is good, but what next? So yeah, that's
Okay, so,
agility
so
to me.
So I think what I'm seeing here, like the takeaway from what you're saying, is build for contingencies, even the things that are going off well, but also build for situations which you have to envisage that it might not go well. If, being a fairly a smaller company than any other larger format or a medium-sized company, you have to make sure that, and the impact is greater because you're a smaller team. So I think one thing that even the larger companies need to understand, or take from this, is each of you is a small team, is a small company within the company. So if you can start building in contingencies for what can go wrong or what's the worst case scenario, I think that's what I take away from what you're saying. With So you shifted gears in terms of, let's build in the plus point contingencies and also the minus beforehand, before
Yes,
it
be
ever
a little
hits us.
paranoid. Yeah, a little paranoid.
I like that. Be a little paranoid. I'm going to use this with some of my friends and say, you overthink a lot. Or sometimes I say it to my friends. I think it's okay to be paranoid a little. Sheetal, what about you? I mean, how did you you run this single-handedly. You don't have a team right now, but I'm the way you're going, I can see that there is going to be tremendous growth even in your company. So God bless you for that. But I'm I want to know, how did you shift gears? Because being on your own.
So I think the day I decided to change my roles from a homemaker to a professional, it was important for me to adapt agility.
Okay.
And I would like to explain this with two examples. Like, for instance, like, when I was introduced my course in 21st century life skills.
Okay.
So I had to browse a lot of websites because I was designing my own course. And, whatever resources that I got online were more suitable for the conventional teaching. So it was
Ah,
very challenging, yeah, because of the pandemic, I had to use my creativity to convert everything into all the activities and games, which are suitable for online teaching.
correct.
So yeah, and then secondly, like, I'm not tech savvy, so I was never tech savvy. So it was it was very difficult. I didn't even know like how to make
I'm
a
with you.
PowerPoint.
I'm with you.
So I don't really know how to make PowerPoint presentations, and that is exactly what we are doing today. So when we are teaching the children, we are using PowerPoints, like, so I had to learn everything, like, how to create the slides, the animations. I didn't know anything. Then I was not familiar with Google Classroom and Zoom since the worksheets were all online. So like I had to spend a lot of time and effort, trying to understand technology. And at times, like, even like, during the class, sometimes I used to get stuck, and my small children used to help me out, like, ma'am, this is what you have to do, and also like they were like really familiar with the technology. But it was fun, like, okay, learning something new.
Yeah, no, so I think it also tells them, it shows them your vulnerable side. So it humanizes it a lot. So they are able to work with you, and not that they are the student and you're the teacher. So I think that kind of broke the walls as well. Because I remember you mentioning something like this earlier sometime, when we had spoken about it. I think it's great, that in what I learned from the things that both of you said is, and especially Sheetal, what you just said is that it didn't matter if you're learning something a little later in the day, but you're learning.
Yeah.
But the very fact that you can say, hey, listen, I need to do this now, we do it. It's like Garima and I, who's my colleague at my company, she and I started learning Canva. So we've decided it is our retirement plan.
Okay, that is something which even I had to learn. That's one more.
So the kind of thing that we had to upskill ourselves with, I think, that is shifting gears, because then you see, okay, what is required, and you just do it. So I mean, Sheetal, I'd like to ask you then, if you were to look at whatever you've shifted in your gears, what you had to learn, the technology part of it, etc. So how would you define agility then for yourself in your professional space?
So for me, agility means adaptability. It's getting out of your comfort zone and learning new things, adorning new roles, and also flexibility. And I think it has always been a part of my life, and it will always be there in the future. And it helped me when I decided to start my business. And of course, like, I grew my business through trial and error. So I made some good choices, I made some bad choices, but then the thing is, I've learned from my mistakes, and I challenge myself to get better. So, for example, like, every year after I ended one academic session, I used to completely like discard all my previous teaching resources, because I always felt, that I have to improve on my teaching. And, so I think this being open to learning and acquiring knowledge and always changing my teaching strategies has definitely, helped me to survive the competition.
Oh, that's great. What about you, Juhi? How would you define agility for yourself? I mean, as an individual within the professional space.
So, as an individual, I told you I'm a little paranoid. So I keep thinking of what might go wrong. So even before, I'll give you a small example. Even before the pandemic really hit us, yeah, I like, I was completely antsy. what if we have to work from home? We've never worked from home, things like that. And we are the kind of people who work with large monitors and PCs, and we are not really laptop people because it's not really easy to draft quickly on a laptop and things like that. Okay, so these
Right.
heavy duty machines that workstations and all kinds of software which is proprietary licensed software. So all my antennae going up that how are we going to deal with something like this? And uh, nobody was really saying work from home. Before that, we had a plan in place that what if, say, tomorrow we all have to work from home? So which systems will we move, who will go where, who can come to office? Or maybe what if we plan that we can't even work today, we go home, and tomorrow morning we can't come back? How will we deal with things? What if the site shuts down? We are very brick and mortar people, right? We're interior designers and we do
Yes,
everything,
absolutely.
practically everything, with our own hands. So there's no space for social distancing in what we do, right? So before there was even a hint, we had a plan in place that if we work from home, how is it, what kind of software we will install, how will we work through it? And we are not an IT company, right? So we've always worked teams working together and people working on multiple projects and things like that.
Right.
So agility like that, and larger space. If I see, when we started, we were an interior design company focusing on retail interiors. Right, we're so niche, and that's how we figured our name, and like a new tale each time, and rhymes with retail, and all pun and everything. But very quickly, we started expanding our footprint slowly, gradually, while still maintaining our niche. So we moved into hospitality and we
Right.
started doing larger projects. So, we started talking about the interior architecture that we do, and graphics became an integral part of what
Correct.
we do as well, getting into the branding space and all that. So agility has always been keeping an eye not just on the verticals that we offer, but also which industry is looking for our services. So, which industry
No.
is more hit by
Yes.
e-commerce, which industry still needs to go omni-channel. They started at e-commerce, but they're looking at brick and mortar stores. So agility has been about keeping our eyes and ears open, keeping ourselves educated, predicting future, and really being on top of the game, Pooja.
Right. Okay. I mean, so when you're talking about, when we just, I mean, we talked about the fact that you had to move these pieces and figure out which client requires what and then move accordingly, right? Sheetal, how has been for you when you're talking about the agility part, and in terms of managing yourself, managing the brand, because the change started for you in 2019, right? The change started for you in 2019, and when you were rebranding from your previous brand to now new. We just spoke about the self, agility, how you define yourself within the professional space. I want to know from you, how did you change the value proposition? So, what did you transform into that from X to Y?
Okay. So when I started, my center was like vocal skills, and it is, if you see the name vocal skills, is more about voice skills, and even if you Google, then it's more connected to like speech therapy, and I'm not
Ah,
a therapist. Yeah. So that is why rebranding was like very important. And I was also introducing many new courses, like the 21st Century Life Skills program. We even have started with a reading club and all. So I wanted to create a name, an umbrella name for all my courses. So
and the reading club is in English as well
and
as in
Hindi, yes,
Hindi, right?
both English and Hindi,
Right. I mean, this is something which is unique because most of the reading clubs are only for
only
English
for
books.
English.
This one conducts a reading club even for Hindi, so that we can improve, the children can improve their Hindi articulation and pronunciation, which is very nice. Sorry, continue. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, so I think it is essential for all, like you said, children to get better at reading Hindi. And the thing is, the second part of your question about the value proposition. We all know how volatile the markets are. So like we have to prepare our children, for jobs that are not yet being created. So the 21st century life skill enables an individual, to face the 21st century world that is globally active, that is digitally transforming. collaboratively moving forward, creatively
Right.
progressing, and also, quick
Right.
in adapting changes.
Right. Right. Juhi, for you, how do you infuse agility into your team? Because we spoke about the self within your professional space earlier, but how do you make sure that the other side, that is your co-workers, who's your team, how do you infuse agility into them?
I talk to them.
So communicate.
I'm sure they
That's the
sometimes
buzzword.
go, yes. I'm sure there are days they must be going nuts, But I learn to delegate and I teach them to delegate. And I teach them, I make sure that we are all talking. Sending a message out that I am available at all points in time. It's sometimes not physically possible. It's not
Okay.
always the case, but so far as uh, across the level, everybody knows that I'm available. And if they are not able to speak to me right now, that they'll speak to me in the next hour or the next day. I think it's that idea that's bigger. We try to share ideas. I mean, and I try to make the bigger decisions as open as possible. It's more about learning a thinking process that is unique to the culture of our organization. That is what I'm. Building a culture of agility is about really talking to everyone that this is what made me take this decision. So then the decision may go this way or that way, but it's the thought process that becomes bigger than the actual decision taken. And the idea that there'll always be risks in whatever decision we take, but that should not stop us from taking a decision. So, we may or may not be able to predict tomorrow's scenario absolutely correctly, but it's all right that, let's all make our choices. Let's all be part of the thought process. What's going to happen tomorrow, and what should we gun for, which way should we go. Talking about it, I think, really has helped our team come together on multiple fronts. And there's so much ownership. Obviously, there's so much that comes from them. So
Right. So, I mean,
that's really helped us.
so what I understand is that, I mean, I never really gave this a thought, and trust me, I do a lot of thinking and mulling over stuff. That agility can actually be equal to communication. That's something that we don't think of, and I think that's something new that I learned today. That agility is okay in terms of concept. You can tell them, okay, have a mind, change of mindset. You must have an elastic mind, etc. But to be able to consistently be there for your team itself allows the team to have a elastic mind and say that, listen, I am allowed to think beyond what has been told to me. I think that's something that I'm going to really think about, and I'm going to use that in my programs also. So thanks for that. Right. So one of the things that I'd like to hear from both of you, and to talk to our viewers about, is we've talked so much about agility and change quotient, or the way we have been facing the situations in our business and even changing ourselves to suit that. Um, I'll start with you, Juhi, first. What are the lessons that you would like to share with our viewers? What would you like to take, them to take away in terms of lessons of agility?
Agility is work in progress. Do not think to switch gears just at that last minute and be able to pull it off. It's always a constant work in progress. It's something that is a way of life. One has to grow an agile state of mind. One has to be on their toes, sort of constant toes. And that really, to keep thinking all the time that, okay, what next? So I think agility is about that. It's not about just sitting back and relaxing, and then the moment hits you, and then you're going to suddenly shift gears and expect the agility to kick in. I don't think that's the way it works.
Okay, great, great. Sheetal, what about you? What do you want our viewers to know in terms of, hey, these are my lessons to learn from, how I have been facing stuff?
Okay, so according to me, agile thinking is an indispensable mindset, and it is very important to make a quick switch in difficult situations. So, like in the pandemic, it's my agile thinking that helped me to make that switch from offline to online. And
Right.
so in the beginning, I was very reluctant and hesitant. But yes, now I'm like
Yes.
very happy and satisfied. And, I think even once the situation is back to normal, I will still continue with both online and offline classes. And
Right.
so I have, because I have experienced this right now, I have learned experience agility in a difficult situation. So I think the next time when there is any crisis or I face a difficult situation in life, I know
Yes.
that I will be able to, find an appropriate solution faster. And of course,
Yes.
make the switch also much more smoother.
Great. I can see that we are coming to the end of our discussion and our conversation. I really, wish we could have talked more. But as we wind up, I would like to ask you people to tell our viewers, because this is the Women's Day week that we are celebrating, and we're towards the end of that week today. What is the significance or change in significance where Women's Day meant X for you earlier? And over the years now, it means something different, maybe or may not be. If it's the same, then what is it? What are your thoughts? So I'll start with you, Sheetal. What do you have to say?
Okay.
How does Women's
So,
Day feel different or same to you? Years ago versus celebrating Women's Day today.
okay. So, when I think of Women's Day, the first thing that comes to my mind is the Women's Rally, because that is where I am every year. So I am part of this
You
rally from
drive?
Mumbai to, yeah.
You're a rally driver? Okay.
Yeah, so this is a rally which is organized by Western India Association, and the drive is
Okay.
from Mumbai to Lavasa. And it is
Okay.
not just a race to the finish line. So I think every woman who's participating in the drive. So we have like homemakers, there are students, we have professionals, and even 70 plus grandmothers. So we all
Correct.
come together, to celebrate just being a woman. And for me, a woman means like it's beautiful, strong, then it's courageous, a multitasker. And I think the list is endless. So
I
yeah,
talked, I talked about I talked about endless lists in the beginning. I think this also is very much. Right. Sorry. Yeah. Continue.
yeah. So like today, like I'm talking about myself, but if you just imagine, like, every woman in that rally has such amazing stories to share.
I'm
And
sure.
so I'm quite proud of my achievements, and I'm very happy that I got this opportunity to be here with all of you today. And I have begun to believe that, you don't have to be the CEO of a company or maybe a businesswoman who's making a crore a year, to be proud of yourself. I think women
Very
should
important.
believe, that they are all truly amazing, no matter what roles they are playing in their life. And that definitely needs to be celebrated. So, no matter what age you are, whether it's 9 or 90.
Thank you so much, Sheetal. Juhi, over to you. What is it that what's the difference in significance for you celebrating Women's Day earlier to now?
So Women's Day has been interesting, right? So many years we've run all these races here, these Women's Day, runs and all that, and I've thoroughly enjoyed those. Getting together with women from my different social circles, from my office, and all that. But really, how it's changed for me, I think from my early years when I started working, I think I always looked up to seniors ahead of me, and so few of them were women, that I think I only thought that there is an aggressive demeanor that defines a leader. But the way
Huh.
Women's Day has really changed for me now that I think of it is that with small little victories along the way, I figured that you can be exactly who you are, which is a woman, and yet be assertive. You need not scream, shout, use use words.
Yes.
Mind you, I work in a blue collared industry, right? And we are
Right.
very acutely aware of our shortcomings, if I may use that term, in terms of how to get work done on sites and how to deal with people and clients who are mostly men. Yeah, some of them very phenomenal women as well, but
Hmm.
that's how the landscape is. And
Hmm.
Women's Day has come to mean that leadership need not be aggressive. You can still get your things done. Maybe you have to work a little harder and you have to be more persistent in terms of time and effort. But you don't have to give up your identity. You don't have to use 4-letter words or screen expletives to get things done, either on site or in a boardroom. And I think the landscape is changing, and I'm just so happy about that. I mean, I've had a very recent experience in something like that, and it's relieving that you can be who you are and still be ahead of the game.
Thank you so much, Juhi and Sheetal, for spending time with us and sharing your story with us. We hope your story inspires people out there, someone out there, and it sparks some sort of thinking and reflecting and saying, "Hey, listen, this is my story. I can relate to it." And also, we hope that the takeaway from this is that our viewers understand that your own story already has the change quotient. And the only difference is that you need to bring it out, you need to talk about it more, and you also need to keep doing more of what you're already doing well, so that you're investing in yourself today to make a better version of yourself tomorrow. And that's what it is all about. We've all been talking so much about future. The future is about building yourself today. And we hope we've been able to inspire at least some of you, who visited us today. Thank you so much for spending so much time with us and viewing our session. And thank you once again, Juhi and Sheetal. I'd like to also thank Garima, who's not here. She works with me and she silently is behind the curtain making sure this entire interview goes glitchless. And she's working with our social media agency, Growth Heads Digital. And so thank you, Garima, if you're hearing us. And all of you have a nice weekend ahead. Let's hope we can see you sometime soon again. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much.